The Cadisen 8185 is not merely a copy, it's a piece that honors the legacy and craftsmanship of the original, but doing us all a favor, making this handsome design accessible for a very budget-friendly price of $60. Now, there are tons of homages floating around, yet this particular one caught my eye because of the Meteorite style dial. An unparalleled texture of interwoven structures. The surface is rich in various shapes and patterns. Now, this Cadisen does present us with a load of goodies, such as a sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating, a Japanese hackable automatic movement with a 42-hour power reserve. We also get an exhibition case back, a proportional and well-designed fluted bezel, 100 meters of water resistance, and of course the president-style stainless steel bracelet. Now, this watch does pack a punch in terms of looks, the premiality of the materials, and how it's all put together. Now, $60, and I have left the link to the listing I got this watch from in the description below the video, so make sure to check it out if you're after a sharp price. And now let's get in and do a deep dive, a full and detailed comprehensive review of this Cadisen 8185. In terms of the dimensions, we get a diameter of 40 millimeters, a lug-to-lug length of 47 millimeters, a height of 11 millimeters, but with the Cyclops, it's 12.4 millimeters. The lug width is 22 millimeters at the lugs, tapering down to 17 at the clasp. Now, the weight was 140 grams, but that's before I removed any links to fit my 6.5-inch wrist. We get a monoblock case here. From the side, the case is particular and oozing elegance. The rounded case follows a sweeping arch from one lug to the opposite one. The lug hoods almost twist, or rather bend downwards and outwards for a smooth transition to the flanks. The lugs are pointed and slanted downwards. With the addition of inverted end links, the resulting lug-to-lug measurement is quite modest at just 47 millimeters. The case walls and lug hoods are mirror polished. This 40 millimeters caddy has great wrist presence. The polishing is bold enough to catch the eyes, yet due to the 11 millimeters height, the watch is subtle enough to slip under the cuff and go unannounced. The fluted bezel, also polished and rising from the case to support the sapphire crystal, creates that magical balance between a sport watch and a timepiece that has a particular kind of presence. Originally, the fluting of the bezel had a functional purpose. It served to screw the bezel onto the case to ensure waterproofness of the watch. Now, on the original of this Homage, similar fluting styling is applied to the case back, but Caddy had its own vision and introduced an exhibition case back instead. The see-through back opens the view to the engine room, and the specs are listed on the perimeter. Now, I do have a little frustration here, considering that the crystal on the back here is actually mineral crystal, so we don't get a sapphire sandwich. Now, potentially it could have been just a bit too much to ask for $60, yet that would have been so nice. On the right, we have a 5.8 millimeter screw-in crown. This crown size keeps the watch in the classic and classy realm. Not too small to resemble a retro look, and not too large to appear sporty. It's unguarded and signed with the Cadisen logo on the tip. With regards to the bracelet, I do fancy the refined look. The semicircular three-piece links complement the watch beautifully. The outer links are vertically brushed while the center links are polished, in line with the case and fluted bezel. But looks aside, the tolerances are not quite the best in class. There is quite a bit of articulation around the pins. The advantage of this is that the bracelet can conform to a wide variety of wrists and is very comfortable to wear. But the disadvantage is that there are visual gaps between links. But if we take a look at how the watch actually looks on my wrist, we can see that the bracelet drapes around the wrist beautifully, and the butterfly clasp ensures a secure fit. On the underside, the bracelet is very smooth and pleasant on the skin. Actually, it does feel like it's on roller bearings. It's so smooth and refined. Now, there are no sharp edges anywhere on this bracelet. And now let's get to a very exciting part of the watch, and that is of course the crystal that leads up to the dial. This Cadisen gets a flat slab of sapphire crystal sitting almost in line with the fluted bezel. Another positive here is that the crystal edge is rounded and the transition from glass to bezel is almost seamless. Now, we also get anti-reflective coating. There's a mineral glass Cyclops at 3 o'clock, and yes, mineral. That is slightly unfortunate as it simply protrudes on top of the dial and it will be the main point of contact with other surfaces. The magnification is decent though, at about 2 to 2.5 times. Now, if you've ever owned a Cadisen, this won't come as a surprise to you. Cadisen signs their rehos, and it's here as well. The engraved brand name looks chic and classy on the polished reho in particular. The dial is where the magic happens. The minute track is printed just under the reho, the chaptering is fine and sophisticated. The applied chrome indices are depicted in Roman numerals from 1 to 10. On the north edge of the dial, we have the day window. It spans the distance from 11 to 1 o'clock. The dial of the day window is monolingual, essentially in English only. Black text on a white background. And at 3 o'clock, we have the date window, also black text on a white background. If we talk about the actual dial, the texture is the key here. It's unique, unparalleled, and literally appears one of a kind. We can see that Cadisen really tried to replicate the extraterrestrial and hence atypical patterns across the grey surface, and I think they've succeeded with that. To be fair, it does look very good and distinctive, and it really does awe me every time I gaze down at the wrist. If you try to follow these patterns with your eyes, there doesn't seem to be any logic. It does look very particular and distinct. The hands are also edged in chrome, making use of extensive reflections to contrast the dial and allowing crystal clear legibility even when everything is mostly grey. Now let's talk about the movement here, because this is not the NH35, this is the Miyota C8185. So this Japanese movement is quite interesting, and I'd like to make a point that if you were to go out and buy the movement on its own, that would set you back at around $30. Considering the whole package is $60, this is quite unbelievable value. The movement features a hackable stop-second functionality. We get a 42 hours power reserve and a variance of up to 20 seconds per day. It actually takes 40 rotations of the crown to fully wind the watch. This is definitely a robust, accurate, and quite a dependable movement, and it's very much comparable in terms of dependability to the NH35. So now let's draw a line and I'll give you my thoughts on this watch. There are so many goodies on this watch that it's difficult to pinpoint a particular feature that is most prominent. Although my favorites are the magnificent meteorite style dial, the thin case and proportional fluted bezel. The refined bracelet with its flaws still manages to complement the significance and presence of this watch. As I've mentioned, there are other homages out there, well, specifically on AliExpress, but there's only one more brand that does the meteorite style dial, but that watch costs almost double of the Cadisen. And again, you know that on this channel, it's all about value. And I think that for $60, we're getting a whole lot of value from this price point and the watch that we get as a result of it. Anyways, I hope you did enjoy the review and you found it detailed, that it has answered your questions if you had any about this watch. Now, I've left the link to the listing I got the watch from in the description below the video. Make sure to check it out if you're after a sharp price. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.